याचन्तमया गिरिजन्ताभिजागजेः यामिषुं गिरिजं दहस्तेभिवर्ष्यस्तवे शिवां गिरित्रतां कुरु माहिगुंसि पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाच्छावदामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगत यक्ष्मगं सुमना असत् अध्यवोचदधिवक्ता प्रथमो देव्योऽभिषक् अहेगश्च सर्वान् जम्भयन् सर्वाश्च यातु धान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रः सुमङ्गलः ये चेमागुं रुद्रा अभितो दिक्षश्रितात् सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेडयेमहे असव्यो वसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुतहार्यः उतैनं विश्वा भूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयातिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीरुषेये अधोगे अस्य सत्त्वानोऽहं तेभ्यो गरन्नमः प्रमुञ्च धन्वनस्त्वमुभयोर्रात्रियोर्ज्याम् यास्य ते हस्त इषवः पराता भगवो वप अवतत्यदनुस्त्वगुं सहस्राक्षशतेषु धे निषेव्य शल्याणामुखा शिवो न सुमना भव विज्यं धनुः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणभागुम् उत अनेशन्नस्येषव आभुरस्य निशङ्गधिः याते हेतिर्मीडुष्टमहस्ते बभूवते धनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधायानातताय दृष्टवेगे उभाभ्यामुत ते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो घेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अधोग्यगिषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निधेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः नमो हिरण्यभागवेसे नान्ये दिशां च पतये नमो नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां पतये नमो नमः सस्पेञ्जराय त्विषेमते पधीनां पतये नमो नमो बब्लुषाय विव्याधिने नानां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवेतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवत्यहेत्यै जगतां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय तथा विने क्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय गन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो रोहिताय स्तपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रिणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भुवन्तये वारिवत्कृताय औषधेनां पतये नमो नम उच्चैर्घोषाय क्रन्दयते पत्तेनां पतये नमो नमः कृत्स्नवेदाय धावते सत्त्वनां पतये नमः नमः सगमानाय निव्याधिन आव्याधिनीनां पतये नमो नमः ककुभाय निषङ्गिणे सेनानां पतये नमो नमो निषङ्गिण यशुधिमते तस्कराणां पतये नमो नमो वञ्जते परिवञ्जते स्थायूनां पतये नमो नमो निचेरवे परिचरायारण्यानां पतये नमो नमः त्रिकाविभ्यो जिगागुं सद्भ्यो मुष्णतां पतये नमो नमोऽसि मद्भ्यो नक्तं चरद्भ्य प्रकृन्तानां पतये नमो नम उष्णेषिणे गिरिचराय कुलुञ्जानां पतये नमो नम यशुमद्भ्यो तन्वाविभ्यश्च वो नमो नम आतन्वानेभ्यः प्रतिदधानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नम आयच्छद्भ्यो विसृजद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमोऽस्यद्भ्यो विद्यद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नम आसीनेभ्यः शयानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नम स्वपद्भ्यो जाग्रद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नम तिष्ठद्भ्यो धावद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नम सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो अश्वेभ्योऽश्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नम आव्याधिनीयेभ्यो विविध्यन्तेभ्यश्च वो नमो नम उगणाभ्यस्त्रिगुंहतेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गृत्सेभ्यो गृत्सपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो व्रातपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो गणपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो महद्भ्यः चुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रथेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सेनाभ्यः सेनानिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः शत्रुभ्यः संग्रहेतृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः तक्षद्भ्यो रथकारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेकेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः शुकृद्भ्यो धन्वकृद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमो मृगयुभ्यः श्वनिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः श्वभ्यश्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः चर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च व्युक्तकेशाय च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च शतधन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिविष्टाय च नमो मीडुष्टमाय चेषुमते च नमो ह्रस्वाय च वामनाय च नमो बृहते च वर्षेयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृध्वने च नमो अग्र्याय च प्रथमाय च नमः आशवे चाजिराय च नमः चेघ्र्याय च शेभ्याय च नमः ओर्ण्याय च वस्वन्याय च नमः श्रोतस्याय च द्वेप्याय च नमो ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय च परजाय च नमो मध्यमाय च पगल्भाय च नमो जगन्याय च बुद्ध्याय च नमः सोऽभ्याय च प्रतिसर्याय च नमो ज्ञाम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नम उर्वर्याय च खल्याय च नम श्लोक्याय च वसान्याय च नमो वन्याय च कक्ष्याय च नम श्रवाय च प्रतिस्रवाय च नम आशुषेणाय चाशुरधाय च नम चोराय च वबिन्दते च नमो वर्मिणे च वरोधिने च नमो बिल्मिने च कवचिने च नम श्रुताय च श्रुतसेनाय च नमो दुन्दुभ्याय च गणन्याय च नमो दृष्टवे च प्रमृषाय च नमो दूताय च प्रहिताय च नमो निषङ्गिणे चेषु धिमते च नमः तीक्ष्णेशवे चायुधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुदन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पथ्याय च नमः काट्याय च नीप्याय च नमः सोद्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाद्याय च वैशन्ताय च नमः कोप्याय च वट्याय च नमो वर्ष्याय च वर्ष्याय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः ईद्रियाय च तप्याय च नमो वात्याय च रेश्म्याय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तुपाय च ॐ हर 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 ॐ नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमः ताम्राय च रुणाय च नमः शङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वधाय च दूरे वधाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्काराय नमः चम्भवे च मयो भवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च नमस्तीर्थ्याय च कोल्याय च नमः पार्याय च पार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आतार्याय च लाद्याय च नमः षष्प्याय च भेन्याय च नमः सिकत्याय च प्रवाह्याय च नमः गिरिण्याय च प्रपथ्याय च नमः किगुंशिलाय च क्षयणाय च नमः कपर्दिने च पुलस्तये च नमो गोष्ठ्याय च गृह्याय च नमः स्थल्प्याय च गेह्याय च नमः काट्याय च गह्वरेष्ठाय च नमो हृदयाय च निवेश्याय च नमः पागुंसव्याय च रजस्याय च नमः शुष्क्याय च हरित्याय च नमो लोप्याय चोलप्याय च नमः ऊर्व्याय च सोर्व्याय च नमः पर्ण्याय च पर्णछद्याय च नमोपगुरमाणाय चाभिग्रते च नमः आखिदते च प्रखिदते च नमो वत्किरिकेभ्यो देवानागं हृदयेभ्यो नमो विक्षीणकेभ्यो नमो विचिन्वत्केभ्यो नमः आनिर्हतेभ्यो नमः आमीवत्केभ्यः द्रापे अन्धसस्पते दरिद्रन्नीललोहिता येषां पुरुषाणाम् येषां पशूनां मा भेर्मा रोमो येषां किञ्चनाममत् या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूशिवा विश्वाघभेषजे शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजे तया नो मृडजीवसेगे इमागुं रुद्राय तवसे कपर्दिनेगे क्षयद्वीराय प्रभरामहे मतिम् यथा नश्यमसद्विपदे चतुष्पदे विश्वं पुष्टं ग्रामे अस्मिन्ननातुरम् मृडानो रुद्रोतनो मयस्कृतिक्षयद्वीराय नमसा विधेमते यच्चं च योश्च मनुरायजे पिता तदश्यामतवरुद्रप्रणीतौ मानो महान्तमुदमानो अर्भकं मान उक्षन्तमुदमान उक्षितम् मानो वदे पितरं मोतमातरं प्रियामानस्तनुवो रुद्ररीरिषः मानस्तोके तनये मान आयुषि मानो गोषु मानो अश्वेषु रीरिषः वीरान्मानो रुद्रभामितोपदेर्हविष्मन्तो नमसा विधेमते आरात्ते गोग्रमुत पोरुषग्रे क्षयद्वीराय सुम्नमस्मेते अस्तु रक्षाजनो अधिजदेव ब्रूह्यथा जन शर्म यच्चद्विबरुहाः स्तुहि श्रुतं गर्तसदं युवानं मृगन्न भीममुपहतृमुग्रम् मृडाजरिद्रे रुद्रस्तवानो अन्यन्ते अस्मन्निव बन्धु सेनाः परिणो रुद्रस्य हेतुर्वृणक्तु परित्वेषस्य दुर्मतिरघायोः अवस्थिरा मगवद्भ्यस्तनुष्वमीढुस्तोकाय मृडय मीढुष्टमशिवतमशिवो न सुमना भव परमे वृक्ष आयुधन्निधाय कृत्यं वसानमाचर पिनाकं बिभ्रदागहे विकिरित विलोहित नमस्ते अस्तु भगवः यास्ते सहस्रगुम्हेतयोऽन्यमस्मन्निव बन्धुताः सहस्राणि सहस्रदा बाहुवोस्तव हेतयः तासामीशानो भगवः पराचेनामुखाकृते सहस्राणि सहस्रशो ये रुद्रा अधिभूम्या तेषागुं सहस्रयोजने बधन्वानि दन्मसे अस्मिन् महत्यर्णवेगेऽन्तरिक्षे भवाधे नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठा शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः नीलग्रीवाशितिकण्ठादिवगुं रुद्रा उपश्रिताः ये वृक्षेषु तस्मिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानामधिपतयो विशिखासक्कपर्दिनः ये अन्येषु विविध्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिबतो जनान् ये पदाम्पतिरक्षय ऐलभृदायव्युतः ये तीर्थानि प्रक्षेये दिविगेशावन्नं पातो वरुषमिषवस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचेर्दश दक्षिणा दश प्रतीचेर्दशोदीचेर्दशोर्ध्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मृडयन्तु तेयं विष्मो यश्च नोद्वेष्टितं भोजं भेदधामि त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनायो रुद्रो अग्रव्यो अप्सु य ओषधेषु यो रुद्रो विश्वा भुवना विवेश तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु एते सहस्रमयुतं पाशा मृत्यो मर्त्याय हन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वानवयजामहे मृत्यवेत् स्वाहा मृत्यवेत् स्वाहा प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसि रुद्रो मा विशान्तकः तेनान्येनाप्यायस्व नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि तमुष्टुहि यस्विषुः सुधन्वायो विश्वस्य क्षयति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वा महेशो मनसाय रुद्रं नमो बिर्देवमसुरन्दुवस्य अयं मे हस्तो भगवान् अयं मे भगवत्तरः
अयं मे
विश्वभेषजो यगुं शिवाभिमरुषणः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ सञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियं च मे नु कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रं च मे श्रेयश्च मे वस्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणं च मे यन्ता च मे नर्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वं च मे महश्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रं च मे चोश्च मे प्रसोश्च मे चेरं च मे लयश्च मृतं च मे यक्ष्मं च मे नामयच्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वं च मे न मित्रं च मे भयं च मे सुगं च मे शयनं च मे शोषा च मे सुदिनं च मे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अत्रिणात्वा कृमेहन्मि कण्वेन जमदग्निना विश्वावसोर्ब्रह्मणा हतः कृमीणागुं राजा अप्येषा गुस्थपतिर्हतः अथो माताथो पिता अथो स्थूरा अथो क्षुद्रा अथो कृष्णा अथो श्वेता अथो आशातिका हताः श्वेताभिः सह सर्वे हताः आहरावद्या श्रुतस्य हविषो यथा तत्सत्यं यदमुय्यमस्य जम्भयोः आदधामि तथा हि तत् कन्फन्मसि ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ अग्निमीले पुरोहितं यज्ञस्य देवमृत्विजम् होतारं रत्नदातमम् ऋग्वेदात्मने सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः ईशेत्वोर्येत्वा वायवस्थो पायवस्थ देवो वः सविता प्रार्पयतु श्रेष्ठतमाय कर्मणे यजुर्वेदात्मने सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः अग्न आयाहि वीतये गृहाणो हव्यदातये निहोता सत्सि बर्हिषि सामवेदात्मने सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः सन्नो देवी रविष्टय आपो भवन्तु पीतये शय्यो रविश्रवन्तु नः अथर्ववेदात्मने सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः गृणीत्सूर्य आदित्यो न प्रभावात्यक्षरम् मधुक्षरन्ति तद्रसम् सत्यं वै तद्रसमापो ज्योतिरसोऽमृतं ब्रह्मभूद्भुवः सुवरो छायासु वच्चलाम्बा समेत श्री सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः तरनिर्विश्वदर्शतो ज्योतिष्कृदसि सूर्य विश्वमाभासिरोचनम् उपयाम गृहीतोऽसि सूर्याय त्वा व्राजस्वत एषते योनिसूर्याय त्वा व्राजस्वते छायासु वच्चलाम्बा समेत श्री सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः। ॐ राम उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमहः मित्राय नमः। ॐ ह्रीं आरोहन्नुत्तरां दिवम् रवये नमः। ॐ ह्रूं रुद्रोगं मम सूर्याय नमः। ॐ ह्रैं हरिवाणं च नाशय भानवे नमः। ॐ ह्रौं शुकेषु मे हरिवाणम् खगाय नमः। ॐ ह्रः रोपणाकाशु दद्मसि पूष्णे नमः। ॐ ह्रां अथो हारिद्रवेषु मे हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ॐ ह्रीं हरिवाणन्निदद्मसि मरीचये नमः। ॐ ह्रूं उदगादयमादित्यः आदित्याय नमः। ॐ ह्रैं विश्वेन सहसा सह सवित्रे नमः। ॐ ह्रौं निशन्तं मम रन्धयन् अर्काय नमः। ॐ ह्रः वो अहं द्विषतो रथम् भास्कराय नमः। ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमहः आरोहन्नुत्तरां दिवम् मित्ररविभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रूं ह्रैं रुद्रोगं मम हरिवाणं च नाशय सूर्यभानुभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रौं ह्रः शुकेषु मे हरिवाणम् रोपणाकाशु दद्मसि खगमूषभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं अथो हारिद्रवेषु मे हरिवाणन्निदद्मसि हिरण्यगर्भमरीचिभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रूं ह्रैं उदगादयमादित्यः विश्वेन सहसा सह आदित्यसवितृभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रौं ह्रः दिशन्तं मम रन्धयन् वो अहं दिशतो रथम् अर्कभास्कराभ्यां नमः। ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रूं ह्रैं उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमहः आरोहन्नुत्तरां दिवम् हृदोगं मम हरिवाणं च नाशय मित्ररविसूर्यभानुभ्यो नमः। ॐ ह्रौं ह्रः ह्रां ह्रीं शुकेषु मे हरिवाणम् रोपणाकाशु दद्मसि अथो हारिद्रवेषु मे हरिवाणन्निदद्मसि खगभूषहिरण्यगर्भमरीचिभ्यो नमः। ॐ ह्रूं ह्रैं ह्रौं ह्रः उदगादयमादित्यः विश्वेन सहसा सह दिशन्तं मम रन्धयन् वो अहं दिशतो रथम् आदित्यसवितर्कभास्करेभ्यो नमः। ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रूं ह्रैं ह्रौं ह्रः उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमहः आरोहन्नुत्तरान्निवम् हृदोगम् मम सूर्या हरिमाणम् च नाशय शुकेषु मे हरिमाणम् रोपणाकाशु दद्मसि मित्ररविसूर्यभानुखगमूषभ्यो नमः ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रूं ह्रैं ह्रौं ह्रः अतो हरिद्रवेषु मे हरिमाणम् निदद्मसि उदगादयमादित्यः विश्वेन सहसा सह द्विषन्तम् मम रन्धयन् मो अहम् द्विषतो रथम् हिरण्यगर्भमरित्यादित्यसवितर्कभास्करेभ्यो नमः ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रूं ह्रैं ह्रौं ह्रः ॐ ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रूं ह्रैं ह्रौं ह्रः उद्यन्नद्यमित्रमः आरोहन्नुत्तरान् दिवम् हृदोगम् मम सूर्या हरिमाणम् च नाशय शुकेषु मे हरिमाणम् रोपणाकाशु दद्मसि अथो हरिद्रवेषु मे हरिमाणम् निदद्मसि उदगादयमादित्यः विश्वेन सहसा सह द्विषन्तम् मम रन्धयन् मो अहम् द्विषतो रथम् मित्ररविसूर्यभानुखगभूषहिरण्यगर्भमरित्यादित्यसवितर्कभास्करेभ्यो नमः आदित्यो वा एष एतन्मण्डलम् तपति तत्र तारुचा मण्डलगुम् सरुचाम् लोकोऽथय एष एतस्मिन् मण्डले चिर्दीप्यते तानि सामानि ससाम्नाम् लोकोऽथय एष एतस्मिन् मण्डले चिसिपुरुषस्तानि यजोगुम् शिसयजुषा मण्डलगुम् स यजुषाम् लोकस्येषा तर्येव विद्या तपति य एषोऽन्तरादित्ये हिरण्मय पुरुषः छायासु वच्चलाम्बा समेत श्री सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः आदित्यो वै तेज ओजो बलम् यशश्चक्षु श्रोत्रमात्मा मनो मन्युर्मनु मृत्युः सत्यो मित्रो आयुराकाश प्राणो लोकपाल कक्किङ्कम् तत्सत्यमन्नममृतो जीवो विश्व कथमः स्वयम्भु ब्रह्मैतदमृत एष पुरुष एष भूतानामधिपति ब्रह्मणस्यायुज्यगुम् स लोकतामाप्नोत्येतासामेव देवतानागुम् सायुज्यगुम् साष्टिदागुम् समानलोकतामाप्नोत्य एवं वेदेत्युपनिषत् छायासु वच्चलाम्बा समेत श्री सूर्यनारायण स्वामिने नमः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः ॐ तेजोसि तत्ते प्रयच्छामि तेजस्वदस्तु मे मुखम् तेजस्वच्छिरो अस्तु मे तेजस्वान्विश्वतः प्रत्यङ्ग तेजसा सम्पिबृग्धिमा ओजोसि तत्ते प्रयच्छामि ओजस्वदस्तु मे मुखम् ओजस्वच्छिरो अस्तु मे ओजस्वान्विश्वतः प्रत्यङ्ग ओजसा सम्पिबृग्धिमा पयोसि तत्ते प्रयच्छामि पयस्वदस्तु मे मुखम् पयस्वच्छिरो अस्तु मे पयस्वान्विश्वतः प्रत्यङ्ग पयसा सम्पिबृग्धिमा आयुरसि तत्ते प्रयच्छामि आयुष्मदस्तु मे मुखम् आयुष्मच्चिरो अस्तु मे आयुष्मान् विश्वतः प्रत्यङ्ग आयुषा सम्पिवृद्धिमा इममग्न आयुषे वर्चसे कृधे प्रियगुं रेतो वरुण सोमराजन् माते वास्मा अदिते शर्म यच्चा विश्वे देवा जरदस्थिर्यथा सत् आयुरसि विश्वायुरसि सर्वायुरसि सर्वमायुरसि यतो वाचो मनोजवाः यतः क्षरन्ति सिन्धवः तासां त्वा सर्वासागुं रचा अविसिञ्चामि वर्चसा समुद्र इवासि गम्हना सोम इवास्यताभ्यः अग्निरिव विश्वतः प्रत्यङ्ग सूर्य इव ज्योतिषा विभुः अवाम्यो द्रवणे रसः तमहमस्मामुष्यायणाय तेजसे ब्रह्मवर्चसाय गृह्णामि अवाम्य ऊर्मौ रसः तमहमस्मामुष्यायणाय ओजसे वीर्याय गृह्णामि अवाम्यो मध्यतो रसः तमहमस्मामुष्यायणाय पुष्टे प्रजननाय गृह्णामि अवाम्यो यज्ञयो रसः तमहमस्मामुष्यायणाय आयुषे दीर्घायत्वाय गृह्णामि ॐ शान्ति 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 ॐ गणानां त्वा त्वा गणानां त्वा गणपतिं त्वा गणानां त्वा गणपतिं त्वा गणपतिं त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे गणपतिं त्वा गणपतिं हवामहे गणपतिं हवामहे गणपतिं हवामहे कविं हवामहे गणपतिं हवामहे कविं गणपतिमिति गणपतिं हवामहे कविं हवामहे कविं कवीनां कविगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तवं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तवं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तवम् उपमश्रवस्तवमित्युपमश्रवः तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणः ज्येष्ठराजमिति ज्येष्ठ राजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पते पदे ब्रह्मणस्पत आपते ब्रह्मणस्पत आपते पत आनो नापते पत आनः आनो नान शृण्वन् नान शृण्वन् न शृण्वन्नो न शृण्वन्नोतिभिरोतिभिः शृण्वन्नो न शृण्वन्नोतिभिः शृण्वन् शृण्वन् नोतिभिः सेदसे दोतिभिः शृण्वन् शृण्वन् नोतिभिः सेदा ओतिभिः सेदसे दोतिभिरोतिभिः सेदसादनगुं सादनगुं सेदोतिभिरोतिभिः सेदसादनम् ओतिभिरित्योतिभिः सेदसादनगुं सादनगुं सेदसेदसादनम् सादनमिति सादनम् प्रणो न प्रणो देवी देवी न प्रणो देवी नो देवी देवी नो नो देवी सरस्वती सरस्वती देवी नो नो देवी सरस्वती देवी सरस्वती सरस्वती देवी देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजेभिः सरस्वती देवी देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिः सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजेभिः सरस्वती सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वाजिनीवती वाजेभिः सरस्वती सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वाजिनीवती वाजेभिर्वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती वाजिनीवतीति वाजिनीवती धीनाम वित्रिय वित्रिय धीनाम धीनाम वित्रिय वत्व वत्व वित्रिय धीनाम धीनाम वित्रियवतो अवित्रिय वत्व वत्व वित्रिय वित्रियवतो अवत्वित्रियवतो ओम ते राजाधिराजाय प्रसय्यसायिने नमो वयं वै श्रवणाय कुर्महे समे कामान् कामकामाय वै श्रवणाय महाराजाय नमः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्य परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महिं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यमन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना 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 विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना विद्या बुद्धि सर्वसिद्धि सुरंजना जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना जय श्री गणेश विघ्ननाश गजानना जय हिरंबा श्री जगदंबा नंदना जय हिरंबा श्री जगदंबा नंदना राम साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम साई राम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम 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 हर एक पल में हर एक क्षण में 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 भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम कोई कहे तुझे जानकी रामा कोई कहे तुझे जानकी रामा कोई कहे तुझे जानकी रामा कोई पुकारे राधे श्याम कोई पुकारे राधे श्याम कोई पुकारे राधे श्याम कोई पुकारे राधे श्याम हमरे लिए तुम साई भगवान 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 गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम साई राम साई राम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम हर एक पल में हर एक क्षण में हर एक पल में हर एक क्षण में भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम भजे हम सदा तेरो नाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम गाएगी सदा सुबह और शाम कोई कहे तुझे जानकी रामा कोई कहे
Oh. 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 Om Shri Sairam, offering my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagwan. Sairam to all the elders, brothers and sisters who assembled over here for this beautiful satsang with my loving brother Rakesh Menon. You know, it's not very often you get the privilege of introducing your loving brother to the audience, with whom, as a fellow alum, I had some great experiences which we can talk and cherish for lives to come. So it's my privilege or a honor or a great pleasure to introduce Rakesh Menon, who has had some great experiences with Swami. The thing that I really want to stress upon most, we all have heard of Swami saying, I will give you 1,000 mothers' love. But to Rakesh, Swami himself told in person, he will give 1,000 mothers of love. It's not about Swami telling him, he has experienced it every single day, since the day Swami has told him until today. And so, a very short intro to Rakesh Menon, and then I will let Rakesh talk about his thoughts, his experiences, and his message that Swami wants us to share through Rakesh. Rakesh joined Brindavan campus in the year 1994, and he did his BCom until 1997. Post that, he pursued his MBA from Bharatiya University. He started his professional career in the year 2000, where he started to work as the global risk manager for the product. And he went on to become a vice president in JP Morgan. He lived many years in UK, where he says all along Swami was guiding him, guarding him throughout his journey. Some streak in him would motivate him to get into an entrepreneurship kind of a journey, which is very courageous of him to do. He did this not for a year or two, for 6.5 years. And then one fine day, he said, I want to go back to the professional world. And within a matter of 2 weeks, Swami ensures he gets into a comfortable job where he has fellow respect and love from his colleagues, and which he is enjoying to do even today. But as he had said a few minutes back when we were discussing, life comes full circle. The most cherishable thing for him now, he's come back to Puttaparthi, and he is living in Puttaparthi, still working professionally with colleagues all over the world, day in and day out. And his 2 young children are studying in Swami school, and his wife today is serving the ashram. I mean, what else one can ask for? Swami says, come learn from me, go explore the world, come back to me, and then continue to do what you do, and I will take care of you, guide you, and guard you. Great, Rakesh brother. I would love to hear more from you. We are all looking forward to listen to some of those leelas that Swami had with you, and your unforgettable, most cherished experiences, and also most important learnings from each of those that we can take. Sairam.
Sairam, Brother Anand, offering my loving pranams at our beloved Swami's feet. Sairam to the Sai family here, and fellow alumni also who are actually dialed in. My dear elders, loving Sairam to all of you. As Brother Anand did say, it's not every day that you do get to be introduced by your senior in college, who happen to be with you during those beautiful times at Swami's feet, and who also has been a witness to some of my life-changing incidents which happened in my life. So if I have to talk about Swami, I need to go back a long way, even before I physically became a student in Brindavan. So the aspect of knowing Swami starts when at age 8, due to unforeseen incidents in my life, I lost my mother at a very young age. And there was a guardian angel in my family, a person, an ardent devotee of Swami, who's also my uncle, somebody called Keshav Nair. So I always take his name because he was Swami's chosen angel in my life from the time, I lost my mother, and giving Swami his love and comfort from the time I was 8 years old till the time I was 17, when I actually physically joined Swami's ashram. So to say Swami appeared in my life as a student only, I would like to say that no, Swami has been there always. And probably I think, as Brother Anand told, with most of us, I'm sure he's been there from many, many births. Because to be with Swami, to be with an avatar, you can't just coincidentally meet an avatar. You have to have that relationship with him since many births. So I found myself in the summer of 1994 having an admission in my hand, wearing a white and white, and entering the hallowed steps or the gates of Brindavan. Little did I know that this is one journey which is actually going to change my life, and it actually did. From the point I stepped inside, there was something very different and unique about Swami's educational institutions, as we know. Unlike your typical college campuses outside, here your seniors are the people who actually come and help to pick up your luggage and take you to your respective assigned rooms. There, discipline is actually practiced. Love and compassion is something which I immediately felt. The hurt of having lost a mother at a very young age was healed a lot by my brothers who were actually in the college. So that's where it started. But a few interesting incidents, because I was at the stage, as I told you, about knowing Swami physically. And Kerala is a very socialist communist state. So when typically people in Kerala, they are very ardent devotees of Swami. If you see the people from the state, that is because they take time to believe. But when they believe, they actually completely surrender to the Lord, and they live their life. So a few incidents which I would say are very humorous. And this has been actually time and again narrated by other brothers in third person. I can possibly touch base on it in first person because it happened with me, and it was very interesting. There were two of us, three of us from Kerala, and one of the boys had this habit of smoking. And it has been told about how Swami actually, when I asked him, actually, I think you should not smoke, he told, let him say, then I will stop. And when we actually looked at Sairam Hall, there were 5,000 students and devotees and people there, and there was no way Swami individually could reach out and change a person. So we had a very 20,000 feet kind of view on Swami, not knowing who Swami was at that point in time. And after a day or two passed after this incident, we have something called a Trai session. After the Bhajans get over in Sairam Hall, Swami actually calls us inside. And those sessions, my dear Sai family, are one of the most nearest to divine bliss, if I may say. And if you were to, picturize Swami standing on the steps of Trai, the building itself is shaped like a lotus. And when the devotees and the students are filing in, they go past the deers and they go past the peacocks, and the entire environment is surreal because God is watching, nature is there. And then, it is like a loving mother, Swami ushers you into his home, which is Trai Brindavan. And he sits on that lovely jhula, and then for a second, there is complete silence while he would go into contemplation, or he would be listening to the prayer of a devotee. And then as he comes back, the energy is very, very different in the space. So in one such a beautiful session, the Arati time had come, and this brother who was newly joined with me, he was asked to give Arati to Swami. Swami took the matchbox from him and told him that you will need this, and put it into his pocket, and after lighting the Arati. So while this boy was trying to understand, and I'm sitting opposite, then he told, if I say you will stop smoking, cigarette smoking panna kudadu. So this was probably the first step.
Sairam, I
For
think
me, away from him. So we
Rakesh brother, we had a small disturbance. Can you repeat the last 20 seconds, please? After Swami looked into the brother and said, what did he say? Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll just repeat. So Swami told the brother that, you promise that if I tell you, you will stop smoking. And I'm telling you, don't smoke. So this incident happened in front of us, and three musketeers from Kerala, three communist hardcore people who swore that they will not believe in Swami. We had our first faltering step. Something went wrong in our strategy. It was not working as planned. We intended to study there and move out. But Swami had other plans for us, and we never knew what it was, right? So absolutely, we came back, we all got together and told what happened. How did Swami hear? How did Swami understand this whole incident? There is no way. So the next session onwards, we try to sit behind. And wherever we sit, Swami used to come. Swami used to catch the three of us because mostly we were sitting together. So the next session, we three were sitting in three different places, but Swami will come and stand next to us. So there is no way we can escape Swami. The only thing is, how do we stay away? Because Swami has got some superpowers. And if Swami has some superpowers, he knows what we do. So we better stay away. So it was one of those confusing, yet, that first few steps in the heart when you start acknowledging that Swami with Swami, which does exist. And this incident goes into the 9th day of my joining. In the 9th day, what happens is I started understanding that Brindavan campus and the warden there and the teachers there are very, very strict. All your letters are monitored. Everything gets read. And slowly I got my first letter, and I think my sister is also watching this incident. She writes me a letter saying, we were very strict with you in Kerala. Why were we strict? We were strict with you because we wanted you to do well in life. And the letter in my pocket, I was feeling homesick. And, the bhajans starts in the evening, and somewhere, the bhajans start interacting with your heart. Some of the blocks starts going away, and the bhajans gets into your soul, right? It moves your soul, and the Ma bhajans did exactly that. For a second, I broke down, I looked down, and I wept. I wept on multitude of things, including having, gone away from home, missing my mother, a multitude of things. And then a brother who's sitting next to me, he taps me on my shoulder and my leg and whispers in my ear, look up, look up. And I'm seeing all loving Lord, sitting amongst 10,000 devotees there, having the most compassionate look on his face, with all sadness looking at me only. And the rest of the whole bhajans, Swami did not take his eyes from me. And from a humorous side, we already know what happened with my first brother. So I thought we are all getting it now. Now this time it's going to be me today, because after Thrive we are going inside. So that day, I would say, in my entire existence was and is the most beautiful day of my life. And why, brothers and sisters, I want to share this with you upfront is, I'm sure not many people would experience this side of Swami. They all know Swami as a public figure. That's what I knew. They all know Swami as an efficient administrator of educational institutions and hospitals, where everybody, the who's who, is always there in Puttaparthi. And therefore I thought Swami was probably the god of the rich and the god of the popular and the god of the famous. And for me, it was very far away, because I came from a family which needed healing, which needed to be loved, which needed a hand to hold on to. And all my whole family required that at that point in time. And as I took those steps to try, not knowing what is going to happen, and when we entered the hall, I am finding Swami standing there waiting, waiting and looking, searching, and then his eyes falls on me. He beckons to me, and I take those steps out of fear, because I don't know who Swami is. And given the experience, I'm not sure what is it going to be. Did I do something wrong because I cried in bhajan? Did I actually break a protocol? Because did I break a discipline? Will I be actually sent back home? These were the thoughts in those few steps towards Swami. But as I walked to him, little did I understand that what was waiting for me is something which awakened the fact that your mother has never passed away. Swami embraced me in front of everybody sitting there without any hesitation. He took me into his hands, and I broke down in his hands. And Brother Anand, you were there also in that room, yes, that particular day. And Swami gave an assurance that day that he will give me 1,000 mothers' love. And when he did say that, a lot of promises came into my mind, a lot of broken promises, a lot of people, a lot of failures came into my mind. But here I was experiencing a moment of bliss. I would say the highest moment of bliss I experienced was that moment in my life. And it still continues to be that moment in my life, when he took me into his arms. He consoled me, and he started narrating my story to everybody sitting there. Every single person he started telling, every single incident which happened in my childhood. And while I was helplessly in his hands, I was wondering, my thoughts were, how did Swami know my story? Did he? It was as if a camera was attached into my soul, and every single incident which had been recorded, all the painful moments, all the happy moments, everything came out. Everything came out, and then he told. My professor Ravi Kumar sir was there. He was sitting there, and he's a warden of Brindavan hostel, and he always refers to this incident, because he keeps saying, and Swami pointed to Ravi Kumar sir and told, you can ask Ravi. I've been taking care of him also. He also lost his mother. You can ask him. I'll take care of you. And in a flash of a moment, on the 9th day, he materialized a green diamond ring, which is something which I wear even today as a bond of love, if I may say. I realized that from that moment I had the Divine Mother, a new feeling of confidence, a new wave of bliss enveloped my heart. It gave me a newfound feeling of inner peace, which I had never experienced in my life till date, because it has always been one problem after the other till date. I realized that Swami will be there at that moment. And if you know how in front of our Puttaparthi Ganesha, we break coconuts, right? So at that moment, my resistance broke like a coconut. I had surrendered at his feet completely, body, mind, and soul. I was his. One of my teachers used to say, tell me very clearly, Swami possessed you at that moment. And that is true. I think I do believe that Swami possessed me from therein till date in a very positive way. And from then, it was, the knowing Swami face, it translated into Swami as my mother and Swami as my mother. Now, here is somebody from age 8 to 17 who never experienced Swami's love or a mother's love. And here I have the Lord as my mother in the ashram, right? Now, I think it was a very, very interesting and a lot of humorous things which happened, because unlike a lot of the devotees who actually go through the Bal Vikas system or go through do Seva, I did not know about Swami. Nobody actually, I did not go through any formal system which taught me who Swami was. Nobody taught me Vedas. So Swami took upon himself to teach me who he was. And the one thing which he taught me is an unconditional love which only God or an avatar can actually share. Only Swami can actually give that level of depth of a love, because in that second you realize that he is your master, and you realize that he is your parent, he is your best friend, he knows what's happening inside you. And as a Purna avatar, you start realizing that you pray to Swami and things come true. It's like you have the best thing on planet Earth is having God as your mother, if I may use that word. And I still remember, but it was not all easy, because given that I did not have any training in the system and no background of how Swami system works, I had to go through a process of, disciplining, a kind of understanding how to behave. And a few things which happened, I'll go back actually to an incident in December. It was very cold. We come from Kerala, where it's actually quite humid, and the climate doesn't really get cold. Anand brother, how cold Brindavan gets, right? In our winter days, 8 degrees temperature. The fog is still there. Nowadays it's different today, but in those days in Sairam shawl, waiting in that morning for Swami's darshan. And then Swami taking those paces, and one morning darshan, he came, he stared at me and he left. So my heart was saying, am I actually bringing Swami down? Am I being worthy of his love and grace? I should make my mother proud. I should study well. And like any mother, Swami used to keep a check on me all the time. He used to check whether I'm studying well. He used to check what my GPA was, what my individual subject grades were. So my world quickly in Brindavan became Swami, And on that cold December morning, after he gave me a stare and went, I thought, I had seriously upset Swami about something. While going back, one of our teachers, Ruchir Desai sir, who is to teach us accounting and economics and taxation, he came running from Trai. And I thought, okay, here goes. I'm going to get a very, tough message on how I did not behave very well or something. And when he comes, he opens his palm, and in palms he has got a Pond's cold cream. So that is the love of the Lord, because the Lord sees that your skin is actually, dry because it's very cold, and he cares in the details and the smaller things that he sends you a Pond's cold cream. And Swami's waves and waves of love and this unconditional love, it just entered me completely, if I may say. And this was one incident that was very, very touching. And I hold that and treasure that Swami is a mother. And from then on, he took on the full responsibility of being a mother. And he actually knew in the night that I did not like eating rice, for example, because in the hostel, if you remember, we used to get chapatis, and it's 2 chapatis and rice. Now I used to wait for extra chapatis to come in the end, because I never liked eating rice in the night. So if I get 2 chapatis, I just eat, otherwise I will not eat. And then what does our mother do? Our mother comes in the darshan and says, you are eating only 2 chapatis in the night. Your father has trusted me with you, and if I don't take care of you and your health fails, then I am responsible. And he gives me 100 rupees to ensure that every month I eat fruits and drink milk at the stores inside the ashram to supplement the diet. So Swami's eyes were also on the diet, to ensure that. And this was unbelievable for me, because apart from managing 1,000 crore water project at that point in time, Swami also had time to look after whether his students actually ate 2 chapatis or 3 chapatis, right? Because in the hostel we all were very fond of the hostel food, and it continues to be the case even today. Swami's prasadam is Swami's prasadam, and we all love the food there. So these one by one my defenses broke and my surrender grew within. I also kind of remember one incident where I happened to fall sick with a serious neurological issue, was taken to Nimhans, and Swami was not there. Swami was in Puttaparthi at that point in time. So I went to Puttaparthi, and like a loving mother, Swami advised me that I should have those medicines for life. And brothers and sisters, even today I do take those medicines every single day. And he gave a promise that I'll be hale and hearty, and that continues to be the case, where even today my health is really good. I have no issues. And how did Swami take care? He arranges to ensure that I have milk every single day in our canteen, in our South Indian canteen. Every day night I have to have the milk and report back in the darshan in the morning tomorrow that I have had that 1 glass of milk. A daily 1 apple a day keeps a doctor away. So Swami made sure that I had 1 apple a day, because I was so weak. And I know how Swami takes care, not only me, I have seen my brothers also in the hostel, when they fall sick, how Swami took care of us. When we were seeing, he was always the eternal mother, not only to me, it was eternal mother to all the students, and then one by one, I was completely, truly, madly and deeply in love with Swami too. And I still continue to, say that, that is the case. He still continues to take care even today. As of today as well, Swami continues to take care. And as we start moving ahead, I want to share some incidents also. Now, what happens in the whole journey is that at some point, you start kind of, taking Swami for granted as well. Your feelings for Swami, is as if Swami was born for you. In only you enter that phase in a relationship with Swami where Swami has to ground you as well. He has to teach you. So, and he does that very lovingly. He actually makes sure that you serve in the hostel, you serve in the canteen, you do self-reliance activities, you actually take part and you maintain the hostel, you work very hard at your fees. At the same time, along with all the students, they all become your brothers, and we all had a beautiful time at his feet in Trai in those days. I still remember one incident wherein I couldn't really remember all the spiritual topics which Swami actually used to speak, which never really used to understand what Atma and Paramatma used to mean, because I was so stricken by the form that I used to stare at the form and just drink the form in. And just keep looking at the form and the beauty of the form. And even now, when we think about the form, that's all what we take in. We take in that form, that beautiful form of Swami, the beautiful reassurance and the vibrations which he emits when you stand, the security you feel sitting at his feet. You will not get anywhere in your life. Even your own physical mother or father can't give you that what Swami actually gave us. So Swami, in one of those incidents, I still remember, we had a huge discussion on spiritual topics. There were speakers and there was Swami. Somewhere, I was very tired that day. I got an opportunity to sit in front of Swami, and I dozed off, and invariably my head fell into Swami's lap. You will not believe that Swami did not wake me up. And I continued to doze till one point. I find two fingers in my mouth waking me up, and I wake up and I kind of see that Swami had put two of his fingers into my mouth in an attempt to wake me up. And on the other side, the warden is glaring at me, but this side my mother says it's okay. So when my mother says it's okay, my warden is fine. So absolutely, it was always taking the mother's help to sort out your problems. And, with the knowledge that the Divine Mother actually knows everything. He actually knows everything which happens in your mind, even the naughty thoughts and the good thoughts, he always used to think. And, going back, I used to have this spiritual process going on inside me. Having Swami as an access, I used to ask him some questions. One day I had a lot of these thoughts going on in my mind, very troubling thoughts, and I asked Swami, Swami, how do you control bad thoughts? And wrote a small chit and gave it to Swami. Swami just gave in his normal style, very simple, and Swami told, think about me. Think about me all the time. You will not have any thoughts. All the thoughts will be converted into pure thoughts. And the seasons in Brindavan being, where Krishna is actually, and Krishna and Gopikas, this was where how we lived as part of, us as a students, and Swami continued. This was a year when, the Sai Kulwant Hall was being built, and Swami spent most of his time there. And another beautiful memory which I have at Swami's feet in those days is it was my mother's first death anniversary, where I was away from my home and I couldn't get permission to go and do the rites back in Kerala, because we used to do our rites traditionally. Therefore, I thought, since my Divine Mother is there, why do I need to do rites? I will offer my prayers and salutations at Swami's feet. And I decided, made a vow that without Swami accepting my prasad, I will not actually even drink a single drop of water, that day. And, like it happens in Brindavan and in Puttaparthi, we have a lot of VIPs who actually visit Swami in Brindavan. And I think in that day we had somebody who was a fairly senior person in the government visiting Swami, and therefore my morning prayers, I could not offer it to Swami. And therefore, given that my health was not good, I decided to fast. In the evening, after Swami had discharged his duties to the government official, Swami, his eyes were searching and fell on me, and immediately he told, come tomorrow. I know it's your mother's death anniversary, but I'll talk to you. The next day, as I made my way into Trai, I found that the audience was a group of very, very senior devotees of Swami who were singers actually. And Swami proudly introduced me to them, saying that this is my son, this is my child, and narrated my story to him. And in due course of time, what happened, my family came to Swami's feet. My father found refuge in Swami. Swami took care of my whole family. I had stepped inside Trai, borrowing, I think, 500 rupees from an uncle of mine. And for the next 3 years, every single pie of my hostel fees was paid by Swami directly. Every cloth I wore was given by Swami. And therefore, I think, my entire life was at his feet and still continues to be today. An attitude of gratitude is what, my dear brothers and sisters, is something which personally keeps me going. When Swami, who's your Divine Mother, takes care of you for life, I do believe that our life is indebted to his feet for all the time. Then there were, a stage where, the initial kind of relationship with Swami was formed. And then came a phase where the confidence in me started growing. And, it's a phase where you moved on into your second year in college. You're slowly, you know how the system works. You've gone past your first year. You're a bit senior now in college. So it's a very interesting thing. And Swami never used to allow me to go back to Kerala, because Swami used to say, you have your friends back are not very good. You should never go meet them. And interestingly, there was an understanding between me and Swami. I knew that he knew every thought of mine, because this was the experience right from day one. So he always used to kind of point out wrong thoughts to you on your face. So there is, actually speaking, I used to think there is no privacy with Swami at all, because he knows everything what goes on inside you. So then where do you hide anything? There is no place to hide. So you have no opportunity other than to mend your thoughts, to bend your mind, as Swami always says. So after a long time, I was asked to go back home for a holiday, and with like a mother who prepares a child who goes on a trip, Swami gave me some money and gave me and asked me to go and give Swami's prasadam and blessings to the family. He also told very clearly not to meet my friends. So this was my first trip after a long time back home, during my college days. So I went to Kerala, and while I went out for a walk, one of my partners in crime from school, he passes by, and then I remember the word I gave to Swami, because now what mattered to me was only Swami. My life had changed completely. And I put my head down and continued walking, and the person turns around and comes back and says, "So you don't recognize me, right?" So I told, when your old friend comes and says on your face that you don't recognize, you can't help admit. So I told, no, I told, why don't we go home? And I invited him for a cup of tea, and inquired about his family, and respectfully, as Swami says, Aditi Devo Bhava, treated him as a guest, and I sent him back. Coming back to Puttaparthi, there was Swami waiting. And as soon as I stepped inside, Swami told, "You met Ajay." So then the talk becomes at a very intellectual level. But I didn't meet him. I met him on the road, Swami. So there was this comfort with Swami where you could have conversations with him. Then Swami kind of burst into laughter, because here was me who knew that Swami was there when this meeting was happening, praying to Swami, "Please forgive me, Swami. It was not me who's doing it." And Swami at that point in Parthi, acknowledging that I am there with you wherever you go. I'm always following like a shadow. My grace and my love are with you, very, very clearly. Interesting. Another incident which comes into my mind is, you have friends from school used to write letters, to hostel, and the hostel actually has a process where they kind of scan through the letters, and some of those letters actually came into my hand, and I did not tell this to anybody. And when I go for darshan, Swami says, in the Trai session, actually, Swami verbatim starts reading the letter out. Without having a letter in hand, he starts reading the letter. And the warden is sitting behind, our teachers are there. I fall at his feet and say, "Swami, please save me." Because you know what? If you spill the beans, I'm not worried about you. I'm worried about the warden more than you. I know you are my mother and my friend, but my warden is not my friend at all. Warden was very, very strict. So this was a beautiful incident, and Swami was in laughter. And the next second, he'll start reading the next line. And then I will jump to his feet again. And I'll say, "Swami, if I have some level of dignity left, please don't do this in front of all the people here." And then the next day my father comes, and then Swami will mock and take an imaginary letter out, and he starts reading the first two lines again. So there, it's even more, because we come from a very conservative family, and these things were not very discussed openly. But the Lord knew that. And he used to tell me, what you're doing is not good for you. And at that point in time, all what mattered for me is my mother. And whatever Swami told, his words had an impact. And the love had an impact. And the transformation actually happened in the heart. and what he told I try to do. If he told don't talk to anybody, I tried not to talk. If he told do something, I try to do it, because end of the day, gratitude is something which I think was very important. Swami took care of my family. He resurrected a failing business of my father. My father had a problem of alcoholism. He turned my father around. He gave a new lease of life to me personally and my family. Even till today, I am in gratitude every single day. Though people might forget, I try to remember every single day that what I have is all given by him, and there is nothing I have without him. All I need is him only, because if I have him, I'm sure we all have everything. All we need is like the Pandavas and the Kauravas going to Krishna and in the Kurukshetra war, and the Kauravas asked blessings from Krishna, but Pandavas asked for Krishna himself. I do believe that all we truly need is Swami alone. We really don't need anything other than that, because if you have Swami always kinds of fulfills your thing. And I would like to kind of take you through a few beautiful humorous incidents which happened in Puttaparthi. So I was not the most disciplined, and my classmates who probably are listening into this conversation also will agree. And I get even today, I get being made, in a very nice way. We brothers keep joking among ourselves. One incident is that I was not used to waking up every day early in the morning and going for darshan, because darshan we used to go and we had to spend hours sitting at Swami's feet. Sometimes in the evening after we have sessions, and one day I was very tired. So what happened is I woke up when somebody called me to realize that everybody had gone for darshan, and I was the only person sleeping in the hostel. So when you wake up, something is wrong, because somebody is coming to wake you up personally. And with the message that, from the old hostel, which is just across the Sai Kulwant Hall, you can just get up and you can see Swami standing in the veranda. And here I needed to get ready soon, because Swami was waiting and asking for me. And he knew, and he sent somebody to the hostel to make sure that I reached there. And when I actually got ready and I walked in, I went straight into the interview room. There was Swami standing, and there was a warden standing as usual behind Swami, and there were the teachers. I knew that this was my warrant which was being sealed. So Swami asked me, why didn't you come for darshan? Then I told Swami, I think I was not feeling well, Swami. I think I'm having body aches and fever, Swami. Now, whom do you say? And on the one side, I put a pleading face to Swami, because behind him the warden is seeing, and the warden cannot see my face, because my face is a request to Swami to save me from the warden. And it was not save anything else. It was there. And Swami says, no, you don't have any fever. I'll prove it to you. So, and the discussion goes. He told your temperature is 98.4 or 6 at that point in time. So your fever is, you have no fever, you've got normal temperature. One more box which was ticked off. So here I was getting close to a decision here as to what will happen. Nobody knew. And Swami summoned for a thermometer. Like a loving mother, he takes the thermometer, he puts it into my mouth, and he takes a temperature like a mother does for a child. He takes my temperature, and at that moment, the love and the feelings in my heart was that I felt so blessed that I had a mother like Swami, and I felt so proud that my divine mother is there with me, and in a new wave of confidence comes, because from here I wanted to see how Swami bails me out of the situation, because my problem was the warden and not Swami, because me and Swami already knew each other, and my prayers internally was to Swami and at his feet to try to help me out in the situation. And then Swami looks at the warden and says, Papam, he's got body pains, he's not really well, and warden obviously agrees to Swami. He goes inside and says he is weak, he needs something to eat, and then comes out with a tray of apples, and there were a group of people sitting there. And he starts handing over one apple to each. When he reached me, he pretended as if he's falling over, and all the apples fell into my lap. So technically, I had around 10 apples with me. Everybody got one. And, Swami saved the situation that particular day. His love, was expressed. And for me, I was in bliss because all my life, what I missed, I was getting every second at his feet. I also learned a very important lesson. When the Lord comes for darshan, you have to be waiting. You can't be sleeping. And that's something I would like to stress to everybody now. This is something I realized a little bit later in my life, that you have to be ever ready to receive from the Lord. When the Lord is coming to give, you have to be waiting in darshan to receive. If you are not there and you are sleeping, you will miss the bus or you will miss the chance. So my dear Sai family, make sure that you do the right things and you earn Swami's grace and Swami's love. Be in that bhava and kind of ensure that you're receiving from him when he's ready to give. Another incident happens. We are a group of 150 people, and I think Brother Anand also clearly knows how difficult it is to have a bath in the old hostel, because there were only 2 bathrooms per floor, and we have 3 floors. So every day you got to wake up at 3 o'clock and reserve your turn at for a bath. And given the fact that I had a problem waking up in the morning, it was proving to be very difficult for me to have a bath in the morning. So I came up with a new strategy. After everybody finishes, I used to just go wash my face and my hands and wear a nice clothes, put on some perfume, and just clean your face. You put some oil in your hair, put your vibhuti and go sit in darshan. Now, the first day it was fine, but the second day I started finding that some fruit flies were hovering about me in the darshan, and I clearly knew why it was, because it was already 2 days since I had a bath. So the second day goes by, and the third day also the same thing, because we had a very hectic time, in the college where classes were going on, coming, the routine, and then I couldn't have a bath in the evening, and the same thing repeats. Third day the Lord passes by. He comes back and he kinds of, I get up to him and he says, French bath? Inneki French bath panirkya? So he knows even whether you had a real bath or a French bath. It's that, you are always caught, because you can't, take shortcuts with your guru, with your mother, and, with the Lord himself. And the days after that, Swami waking up 3 o'clock, the first person to have a bath, the first person to chant, the first person to sit in darshan. And, it was amazing time. And I remember in Brindavan, we used to run, once the college bell rings, because the run was to, the dining hall where we put our mat as 1.1. And we all pray fervently that, our line goes first, because when our line goes first, we stay at his feet and we get an opportunity to kind of, massage his calf, and he'll put his leg, and then, we'll push back the jula. And then, it is the most beautiful sight to see in my life is Swami on the jula, and especially in Trai, having that feeling, that, you are with your mother and this is your family. And that, there is nothing, why fear when he is there? He always kind of takes care of you. I was also fortunate, to kind of, have a few instances. Another incident which I clearly remember is that, once you get to this level of inner closeness with Swami, you also feel that Swami is your own. And I still remember there was, one session where Swami was ignoring me for a period of time, and I was very upset with Swami. So I used to sit and stay back. And whenever he used to ask also, I never used to get up and go. Now you will think, what kind of a fool is this boy who used to get a chance, and Swami himself is calling, and he'll go and stay back. But you know what? The child in me was fighting with the mother. And I think every child has a right to fight with his mother. Only the Divine Mother understands that, why the child is fighting. And the mother has got its own ways, mother's ways to mend a child. I still remember one session where Swami asked me to go back to Purnachandra. and he stopped his darshan and activities in the mandir. And then I went back to Purnachandra, and Swami also came. He sat in the chair and he asked me, "Are you angry with me?" And in the most loving way, he's asking, "The Lord is asking you, are you angry with me?" And the most innocently I told, "Yes, I'm angry with you, Swami." And then there is no need, because Swami has actually given you everything. He has taken care of your education, has taken care of your family, and in a most loving way, he kind of trained and taught that, that is not the way you should behave. This is the way you should behave. So what I learned is to realize that, how should you behave with Swami in public eye, in private eye. But you know what? He was the most loving, mother for all the students. We, as a student fraternity, we had an amazing time. Swami was pure unconditional love. If I have to take something out of my relationship with Swami and share, it will be only the unconditional love, because the intellectual side, the teachings which Swami gave, I was much more absorbed in the glory of that form and his love. And that's something which I try to carry within me today. And if each of us can take that love of Swami and share it, especially in these COVID times, it will actually be a lot of healing to people who need that love and affection. And that, brothers, we are, as a family, we should be there for each other. We should always be there to, as Swami took care of millions of devotees worldwide, we also are a part of Swami, and we should be part of, passing on his unconditional love as an instrument in his hands. I was also part of, very fortunate to be taken to Kodaikanal by Swami. Those days, 30 days again, are very, very memorable in my mind, actually. Being able to, spend time 24 hours with the Lord, being able to, be served food with his hands, and to have food, served by him, to sit at his feet and to enjoy, the nectarine words of his, and the experience, the love, which only he can only provide. It was another experience by itself. There was one incident, and I know this has been shared, but again, this is my first kind of opportunity where I've been able to share this in first person. My situation at my home was not very great. I was always worried about my family at that point in time, that they are not having a good time. And I used to feel very, very sad that I'm having such a great time with Swami, without any dearth of anything, no dearth of love or affection. And, my family back home is suffering. And, while one day Swami gave money to everybody, me and Anil Kumar sir, we went out. And we were doing some shopping. I thought maybe I should buy something for my sisters, because this was the money which Swami had given. I took the money. So Anil Kumar sir and myself, we went inside. I saw some, like a child you were, you are a 17 and 18-year-old. You don't know what to buy, right? So I went and bought some earrings for my sisters, which were, the cheaper versions, which costed very less money. So I put that in a cover, and, I was a bit upset that I couldn't contribute anything more to my sisters. Came back to the mandir in Sai Shruti, actually in Kodai, and there was Swami, eagerly waiting to receive us back. And as soon as he sees me, he comes closer. He puts his hands inside my pocket. He takes it out, and little did I know, and he looked at it and he told, "This is not good." At that point, the child in me could not understand that he was indirectly blessing those earrings as well. And he puts it back in my pocket. And what happens after that, it will stay for many, many decades, or, till my, till a long time. This is one of my most beautiful memories. We've all gathered around, the dining hall for food. Swami comes to me, and he's very eager to talk and share something, but he's holding back. Then, like a mother, he couldn't. He just comes. He waves his hands, and he creates 2 sets of earrings identical. And everybody sees, and he tells only one thing: that was not good. These are original gold. this Swami. And Swami says, you know what? I created identical because otherwise they'll fight amongst themselves. Therefore, you know, it was something where I broke down. I fell at his feet. I learned that, you know, the Lord and surrender to the Lord can help you achieve. And this is something which I want to go, because once after the whole, you know, college days were over, Swami took a different role, and that is actually part of my career. So in those days, I had a dream of pursuing a career in banking, and every day, every step, Swami stood with me. I probably, with my limited abilities, did not even understand that there are skill sets which are probably beyond me. But you know what? Through persistence and hard work and Swami's grace, I was able to rise quite well in my career through, and also blessed by my alumni brothers who gave me those breaks in the Middle East. And further on, I went on to work in the UK in the banking sector with some of the best banks, worked globally across in Singapore as well. You know, and all throughout, Swami used to guide me every single second. When there was a career break, I used to come down and spend time in Puttaparthi, not knowing what my next steps were. I still remember one of our singers, Mohan Rao, was there. And in one of the breaks where I was expecting a visa to come, it was a couple of months, and you know, my elder brothers in the ashram who were serving, they asked me to take care of singer Mohan Rao. And people who were older devotees remember how we used to sing, I think in the early 80s and 70s. So he was an ardent devotee of Swami, and he had a stroke and he was serving in the general hospital. One of my classmates' mother was a physiotherapist, and we used to take care of him. So to spend time, I used to spend as much time as possible with Mr. with our singer Mohan Rao, help him in his daily chores. This went on for around 2 months, and I was feeling very frustrated that my career is not going anywhere, Swami. You have kept me here, and you know what? I don't know. This person's health is also not improving. On one day when I was going back to General Hospital, my elder brothers told me not to go, because that, till the night, I had actually put him to bed, and the morning I heard that at 3 o'clock in the morning, he emerged in Swami's feet. And that was a huge shock to me that day morning. I did not know what to do, because I used to spend my whole day. So I came back and sat in darshan. I was very disturbed. In the bhajan again, Swami was looking, and in the darshan also he was looking. I was very angry. So I went back to the room and I slept. And you know what? And that day I get a call from overseas saying that my visa had come. It was as if Swami was waiting for that. The divine orchestrator had orchestrated everything in your life so that your career is actually on track and it actually moves. So therefore and the next day after 5 years, Swami comes. I got my 16th line. I stood in the public. We stood in the public, and those days, Swami used to sometimes avoid the old students block, because by then I had moved out of college and I was in my career. And, I was in the 16th line. I expected to get the first line. That was my ego, but I did not get the first line. I got the 16th line. I'm sitting in the center of the block with a letter I wrote to Swami after 5 long years, not knowing what to do. And then Swami, the ever gracious and ever loving mother he is, he walks by. He turns around and points to the center of the block where I am sitting and asks for the letter. I get up from the center of the block, gives him the letter, and takes his blessings, and then and I was on the next flight out, and my career started. I went on to UK, spent a good 12 plus years in banking. Came back to India in the hope to set up an entrepreneurship. 2011, on birthday on 24th April, Swami took Samadhi, and in the phase till then, because of primarily my overseas career, Swami also trained me in a spiritual way to accept his omnipresence every single day, by ensuring that, because every day in an investment bank in London or in the recession time, it was testing times, and every single day was by a prayer to Swami, and every single day the reassurance came to take it one day at a time, and he gave the strength to kind of take it forward. Post banking, I had a brief stint in entrepreneurship, which saw me actually go through the ups and downs of having had a successful banking career to actually hitting the ground and not having anything after having invested all what I had, and wondering after a long stint as to Swami, what is the next way forward. Only thing I had as my asset was my faith in Swami, and I knew that Swami decides my life, and we go with the flow. And the day Swami blessed in Brindavan, saying he's my 1,000 mothers, since then I continue to be a child in his lap, and he takes care. And I'm very sure it applies not only to me, it applies to all of us devotees, it applies to all of us as his family. Not only his grace, but do experience his love, because that he is the head of our family. And I can possibly talk about one incident here. I was on a business trip to Hong Kong, and I still remember, I had a problem in the food because, Hong Kong does not have too much of Indian food. So I had to eat out somewhere, some vegetarian, some noodles or something. And I came back to my hotel room. Tummy, very bad tummy. I was severely dehydrated. My wife was actually on Skype the whole night, worried whether I'll fall sick because I had a neurological issue and I was on medication as well. So she was a bit worried. And in the morning, I felt slightly better, as though thoroughly dehydrated. I don't know what, but I felt like I need to get some fresh air, so I just went for a walk. And what comes into your mind, your body asks for fruits. That's the first thing which happens when you fall sick. You feel like you want to have some fruits. The walk takes me to a business district, and in one building, when I look to my left, I see Swami's photo there. And in Hong Kong, I'm wondering, where is this photo coming from, and what is this happening? And I went to a shop there and I asked Sai Baba, and they tell me 10th floor. So I get onto the lift and I go to the 10th floor, and I find myself in the Sai Center of Hong Kong, and not gone by appointment, randomly walking on a road and stumbling myself and reaching there. And what do I see there? They are preparing fruits for Narayana Seva in Hong Kong. I get invited to take part in Narayana Seva in Hong Kong. And not only that, they say that Swami sent you to do Brahmarpanam. And I end up doing Brahmarpanam in Hong Kong, offering the entire food to Swami for all the poor people in Hong Kong. They do not let me go without me partaking of the prasadam, which was some fruits. So even if it is near China, or it is the moon, or if it is Puttaparthi where I am right now, as you wonderfully put, Brother Anand, the wave which hit the shore went out and came back again. Life turns a full circle. He continues to be the destination. He continues to be the start of the journey. He continues. My children today are studying in the school here. My wife is in the mandir. The day I wanted a career back in banking, I was in Brindavan, I was in Sairam Hall exactly. I still remember on a Monday morning, I had wound up my entrepreneurship venture. I was having a cup of coffee, as we used to do in the stores, went back to the stores and bought a cup of coffee, and wondering, one idea comes into my mind that maybe, I should explore a career in banking once again. Interestingly, I was staying in Gokulam, so I went back to Gokulam. And this is something which happened in February this year. I'm not talking about before Swami's farm. I'm talking this year, and things which happened right now. I go back to Gokulam and I get a call from one of my classmates. His name is Ramesh. He is a very senior person in Deloitte. He calls me after 20 years and inquires about my well-being. And he tells me, I just remembered you because you are talking in the group. I thought I should say hello to you. And then what happens next is, I just tell him, brother, if you think there might be an opportunity, do let me know. This is my CV. I don't care about the level. I'm ready to work again, and I'm willing to start from scratch again. And I sent him the CV. Interestingly, they have an exact position from whatever skill set I had back in London in Deloitte. At the same time, one of my senior brothers, Chida, he also kinds of looks at some possible opportunities in consulting, comes back with some, so I go through the interview rounds in 14 days, exactly 14 days, brother. And Ramesh happened to fly down from Hyderabad to have a visit in Parthi. Sitting here, I get two offers in hand from Deloitte and another UK company called Capco. I'm holding two offers after selling vegetables and organic vegetables and doing agri-commercial trade and farming. I find myself having two quite technical banking roles, both leadership roles in my hand, and I don't know which one to decide. Now this is the Lord. This is absolutely the Lord. And I go to the mandir, and there is that was a date you realize what is the value of a job. What is the value of when Swami blesses you? You shouldn't take anything for granted. You should value the opportunity which Swami bestows with you. And I ended up back in my career, which I am in today. I'm running a global team, sitting out of India right now. Being at my home in Puttaparthi in this Corona days, absolutely also in the corporate, like Brother Anand told, it can't get better. And I only know one thing that, Swami will take care, not only about me, but all of us in these times. And in these times, please have the faith that Swami is there with you. The grace is always there, but, the love of Swami, please do feel it in your hearts. I hope, these small, small incidents which I shared kinds of gives you an insight of the amount of love which Swami carries and the amount of love which Swami, has in his heart for his devotees. He never lets anybody go. And that's all. And people who have been close to me for the last 26 years, they have seen my ups and downs. I've taken risks in life. I've done things which I wanted to do. I've traveled. It was all because of the fact that Swami decided and blessed me and allowed me to do things. But now I'm at a stage where, all I care for is, people and their happiness, and hopefully, a future where he decides what has to be done. So that's about it from my side. And thank you for this beautiful opportunity which you gave me. I hope that it has been useful, and my prayers and Sairams in these times for all of you. Jai Sairam.
Sairam, Brother Rakesh, I think that was really, really touching. As I said, we have all heard of the love of Swami. We lived it in the last 50 minutes through your words and your experiences, that we experienced the love of Swami, and I think we are so very happy to have had you this evening. So we will have few questions which we want to share with you, and you can share your thoughts on that. Obviously, we will not know the answers for everything, but we can definitely share our perspectives on this. One thing is, you have always been very fortunate to have had Swami interacting with you directly, personally, and as you beautifully put it, the first thing that hits you is his physical form. And when Swami is not around today, how do you feel Swami today, and how do you practice that thought intimacy with Swami? How do you do it?
I think I always refer back to our Gita or our Bhagavatam, as I might say, are those times we spend at Swami's feet. That itself has got so much of sweetness to it. The second you recollect those memories, at that point I do feel Swami manifests himself, as I'm sure a lot of us, I hope, did feel the presence, his presence right now, when we were immersed in his thought. So I do feel that, experience that feeling by thinking about him, because I always, when I had this doubt and I asked Swami that day, Swami, you just told one thing, think about me. And when we think about him, or when we sing a bhajan about him, I had Vedam Chanting, one of my classmates and a beautiful singer. He came on one of the sessions earlier, and he is one of the best singers I've ever seen because of his devotion to Swami. So whenever we sing in devotion, we connect with him. I'd like to take the name of Venkat Desikan, who's doing a wonderful seva activities in Bangalore for COVID patients, my elder brother. And when he does seva, and when we took part in the Kerala floods and many activities, the waves of bliss hit us, which allowed us to do a lot of superhuman work, So definitely, I think actions is very important, to stay connected, you have to put in the effort. But once you put in the effort becomes a habit. Once you establish the habit, you always stay connected, because, and it doesn't take, because he's waiting for us to connect to him. He's always there. Unlike in the past where he was in the form, he is now formless. He is now there, every second with us. Every decision we think we are making, but we are not making any decisions. We are only instruments. If I said I spoke, it is not right. My prayer and your prayer was for him to speak through me. So I do believe that, he spoke, he speaks and he does. And my prayer is to remain a worthy instrument all the time, to be a clean, rust-free instrument. And I think the life going forward is a prayer to to improve ourselves in all respects, and to grow as, in the way he wanted us as we were students at his feet. So that's all I have to say, that he does. He's not gone anywhere. He's right here. You have to make the effort to connect to him. Satsangh, or even doing a bhajan together, or, helping people, or remembering him, or reading about him, or listening. There's so much of the, content on Swami now on YouTube. That's all will recollect the sweetness back. So if we don't get the butter is fine, we still have buttermilk to drink, if I may say. So definitely, have that. That's my approach. That's what my family also follows.
Very nice. Yeah. That's a beautiful response. We need to make the effort, and the connection will come out of nowhere. Like at the beginning of this talk, we were discussing, you wanted to establish one WhatsApp group with Swami. And then there was a talk around how will the network be? And the question, as you beautifully put it then, the network is always there. The only thing is we need to make a connection. So this time the problem will always be, are we making enough effort to join the network? The network exists. So I think it's a beautiful explanation that you gave. One more question we would like to ask. How to remain in contemplation of Swami all the time? Is there anything that you have practiced that you think we can all...
So, brother, I'll tell you what, I think we are all a product of our experiences. I can give spiritual guidance on this. It's all available on multiple techniques and everything. But I think, what has worked for me very simply is the fact that, I have gone through ups and downs quite a lot in my life, from my early childhood onwards, the loss of my mother, or financial instability, or, and the highs has been being with Swami, right? So, inside me, when I hold on to his feet, like a child holds on, I hold on desperately to his feet, because, I don't really understand the world too much outside. I understand the world I live in is my brothers who studied there, my teachers who have been there, the ashram which is there, and the work which I do is very simple. So I think it's quite simple and straightforward. You need to hold on to his feet internally, and he will, like a mother cat holds a child kitten, right? You don't need to really always hold also, because sometimes if you hold, you will let go, right? But he will not let go, because he is holding you by the neck, like a child, like a mother cat takes its kitten. He is taking. So let's not have that ego that we are doing things. We are not doing anything. Whatever is being given is his prasad. I've seen with our brothers also that, this is the way life has been. They've all been blessed with beautiful opportunities and Swami's grace. So that's about it. So I hold on to his feet. But I think what he has prescribed as sadhana has to be practiced at some level. It can be anything, any simple one thing. If somebody likes bhajans, please stay in bhajans. Somebody likes to read a lot about Swami, please do read. Somebody likes seva, please do seva. But that is a connectivity, I think, which is and you need to practice it in your day-to-day with the people you work with, and you need to practice empathy, compassion, kindness. I think that's a little bit of Swami in you, reaching out to people, And that's the way I think. That's what I learned from Swami, seeing him, how unconditional his love is, and how we can kind of give that strength and support to people who need it, right? Because normally the people outside don't realize that they have a lifeline, and then we all have that lifeline, and we are quite blessed and pampered that way, because his grace will see us through. So I'm sorry for the long answer, but hold on to his feet is all what I have to say. That works for me.
Great. One last question I would like to ask. Swami says, don't come to Kalpavriksham and ask for a cup of coffee. Okay, but you have gone through your own mundane difficulties, be it personal, be it professional, whatever, and then when we still have only one person to go and ask to, okay, and which is Swami. So how do you balance between what to ask Swami and what to accept what Swami gives? Is there any thought that you would like to share?
So I think this is a very good question, brother. I think I'm sure we all been asking
audience,
Swami, right?
Yeah.
The audience has asked, so thanks for the beautiful question. I have got everything what I asked for, brother. I have got absolutely career-wise, I've got everything. My wife, to be frank, was the only person I met, and I got married. I've got two beautiful kids who are actually in this thing. In my is actually I would probably one level up is a fanatic. So is a fanatic of Swami, if I can use that term freely here. Ardent devotee of Swami, and we don't really for us Swami is all what we need. I wanted initial career to travel a lot and see places and meet people and have experiences. I think I have exhausted my bucket list of which I wanted to do, because I only asked Swami, nobody else could give. Right, so Swami has given everything. Right now all I ask for Swami is Swami himself. At my age and phase, I just want his proximity, and I want that for all of us, not only for me. I want all of us to feel and get healed and be in that proximity. Because the time we spend at his feet and try, nothing can beat that. The time we had darshan. Nothing can be. So I only wish that. So now, if you ask me, I do have a few small, desires left. Like any human being, I think we'll continue to have these desires, and I'm sure that Swami will close my chapter of desires pretty soon. But I never left his hand and gone behind anything. I've always held on to him, because I know that as a very average person, I don't claim to be the most topper of my class. But I had one superpower was, Swami himself. And I held on to that belief, and I held on to that faith, and he reciprocated. Because if you remember, he gave me the assurance to take care of the mother. So that's, you can do hundreds of mistakes. The mother always forgives and, accepts you back. So that's one, advantage you have when Swami is your mother. When he's your father and a guru and a teacher is a different avatar altogether. But when he's your mother, he'll close an eye to your faults also sometimes, right? So that is what I have experienced personally. And in these COVID times, it brings us back to basics. So it is Swami's way of reminding us that all we need is his presence. And I hope and pray that all of us get more of his presence, his spiritual presence in our own selves.
I think that's a brilliant message. So I think Rakesh Sairam, that was a beautiful, beautiful satsang, and I think you transported us back to that. For me, it was like a flashback of memories from Brindavan. Those beautiful days, unforgettable days of being with Swami, enjoying the bliss in Trai Brindavan. But most of all, the message that I took from this session, and I think we all would agree in that, is, when it comes to your mother, there is no limits. And, you can take liberties with your mother. You fight, you beg, you can do whatever. Mother will always take care of you. And yes. I think we are able to hold on to that faith that, Swami will take care and have that contemplation and that connect. I think everything else will fall in line, be it COVID, be it whatever, personal difficulties, professional difficulties. I think if you are able to put our head up above the water and hold on to him, and that reminds of one beautiful song that we always sing, say his name, see his form, hold on.
Hold on.
Okay, yeah. And I think if you are able to say his name through bhajans or whatever and see his form, and if you are able to hold on, everything else will fall in place. You don't have to worry.
Absolutely,
I think
brother. I totally agree.
With this beautiful thought, I would like to conclude this session with a prayer. And thank you once again for the beautiful satsang. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka sukhino bhavantu. Samasta loka Sukhino bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Jai Bholo Bhagwan Shri Sathya Sai Babaji ki
Jai.
Jai.
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात् 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 ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे